Hey there, my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If a guy asks about your boyfriend, 7 things it means. Do you have a boyfriend? I know every girl has had to answer this question at some point in her life. Sometimes the question comes in other indirect and creative ways, such as what would your boyfriend say if he saw us together? This is one hilarious question usually used by guys who want to know your relationship status but don't want to ask directly. They ask in different ways without saying it directly, but the aim is essentially the same. They are asking about your boyfriend. And that is usually done with a motive. The chances that a guy asking about your boyfriend is asking for no reason are quite slim. Most times, there is a reason for that question. It has an implication. Knowing what it means can help you determine how best to answer him. So, if a guy has recently asked you, do you have a boyfriend, or any of the other variations of this question, you don't have to scratch your head wondering what it means anymore. I bring you answers. The first thing is making small talks. Sometimes people just need topics to gist about and they end up veering into interesting topics. Perhaps you're both gisting and he randomly asks, "So, how is your boyfriend?" The question may take you aback, but he probably didn't mean for it to. Maybe he's just making conversation. You were talking about different things and he asked about your boyfriend just to keep the conversation going. It's a way to learn more about you and your life. For him, it may not mean anything. It's just like asking someone about their favorite TV show, a way to connect and find common ground. The second thing, he's curious. When a guy asks you about your boyfriend, there is possibly something he wants to do with that information. One of the possibilities is that he's trying to know your taste in men. By asking you about your boyfriend, he seeks to understand what kind of guys you are into. Perhaps he wants to know what you like in men and see if he measures up. Getting information about your boyfriend will feed his curiosity about you and make him feel like he knows you better. If you tell him, you might be surprised to find him behaving like your boyfriend or trying to fit into that role. The other thing, he's asking for himself. When a guy asks you about your boyfriend, there is a high chance he's interested in you. And this, quite honestly, is the meaning in most cases. The guy asks you about your boyfriend because he wants to know if you are available or know what kind of guys he's up against. It's like a competitor sizing up the opposition before a match. He wants to know what he's dealing with and how he stacks up. Instead of asking if you are single, taken, or in between, by simply asking about your boyfriend, he gets all the information he needs. And that way, he figures out what his chances are and where he stands. Think of it as him checking the weather before deciding to go for a walk. He wants to see if the conditions are favorable. He's curious and wants to know if there is a green light for him to pursue you further. That guy wants you, and he's taking the first step in finding out your availability. Another thing, he wants to create boundaries. I have had male friends who immediately reduced their closeness to me the moment I got married, not because they were too close for comfort before or because they had romantic intentions towards me. However, they decided to create healthy boundaries with married people out of respect for the person's new life and as a matter of personal principle. Some people are big on creating boundaries and they don't joke with it. He might ask about your boyfriend to ensure he's not crossing any boundaries. He wants to check the signs to make sure he is on the right path and not making a wrong turn that will cause trouble. By asking about your boyfriend, he shows that he respects your relationship and acknowledges that you might be committed to someone else. See it as him knocking on a door instead of just barging in. He wants to ensure he's not intruding. If he finds out you have a boyfriend, that may be his cue to exit gracefully. He wants to know if there is a storm on the horizon so he can flee. Another thing, he's trying to assess you. Some people like to know a lot of information about other people so they can assess them. Even among ladies, some can ask you so many questions that you wonder if they're getting you registered for an opportunity or not. They want to know everything about you and they do it so they can size you up. This may be the case with this guy. He may ask you if you have a boyfriend so that he can assess you and come to conclusions about you. If you mention having a boyfriend, he may form some perception about you. If you say you don't, he'll still have an idea. He just needs some information to fill in the research he's making about you in his head. Another thing, he's jealous. You've been spending time with this guy and you both seem to get along well. The conversations are flowing and you share many jokes and moments, but you are just friends. He might imagine you sharing similar special moments with another guy for a moment and immediately feel a surge of jealousy rise within him. Although you are not romantically involved with him, he has created a special place for you in his heart and may even already feel possessive of you. So he asks about your boyfriend. Perhaps he was hoping to hear that you don't have one or that things are not going well between you two. He sees him as a competition and does not want to fall behind. Another thing, he cares about you. Asking about your relationship can be a way of checking on you. A guy might ask about your boyfriend to see if you're happy in your relationship. He might be concerned about your well-being and want to know if you're being treated right. Or maybe he's just curious about your life and wants to know more about the people who are important to you. He doesn't see it as anything strange or special. To him, it's like asking about your family or your hobbies and trying to get to know you better as a person. He cares about your well being and wants to see you happy. Another thing, he's flirting. Sometimes asking about your boyfriend can be a way to flirt, especially if he's trying to see if you're single. It's like a playful nudge to see how you will respond. He is testing the waters to see if there is room for him to make a move. But this time around, he's not necessarily trying to date you. He just wants to have fun, so he wants to know if you're up for that. Depending on how he says it, you can already tell that those are his intentions. In fact, each of these scenarios depends on the context of your relationship with the guy and how he approaches the conversation. His intentions might be clear or more subtle, but understanding these possibilities can give you a better sense of where he's coming from.